Welcome back in, everybody, to a Victory Friday here on Birds 365. The Philadelphia Eagles get the win last night, 26-18. They moved to 8-2 on the year. Commanders fall to 7-4, and the gap is all of a sudden widening. Now a 2-game lead in the NFC East for the Birds. They control their destiny here, and that's a good spot to be in. And could have a shot at the number 1 seed depending on what the Detroit Lions do. So we're sitting pretty, and a good win last night on a Thursday night in Lincoln Financial Field. By the way, if anybody was at the link, I'm sure you're not in here right now because you're probably tired, but I'd love to hear from you. The link looked like it was rocking last night. They were booing a little bit, but they were rocking. They always boo. It's Philly. I get it. John, I want to give you some stats here since the bye week. And I know you're not going to go here because, you're a great, objective, pragmatic reporter. Meanwhile, there's me who sometimes gets a little giddy when I read some of these things. Eagles since the bye week, 6-0 record. Jalen Hurts, most touchdowns in the NFL. Saquon Barkley, most rushing yards in the NFL. They have the number 1 ranked rushing offense, the number 1 ranked total defense, and the number 1 ranked passing defense. Are we in for a special season? John McMullen, it's starting to feel that way for me.
Yeah, I mean, Nick broke out the special shit messaging,
Yes.
which I asked him about, and he said, no, it wasn't. I asked him if he pulled it out, before he said it during the Dallas week, and if that was purposeful, and he felt that, this team had crossed that line. He was like, no, it's been pretty consistent, but, yeah, I mean, well, if the defense continues to play like this, yeah. And it's there's always something you can point to and say, yeah, but, but they're evaporating week by week. The yeah buts, they're still there. There's still a couple. I'm going to tell people are losing their minds about the Quignon stats, who played very well. And I'm going to go, yeah, but they didn't even try to get the ball outside. So, is it the chicken or the egg? Other than, the most important thing is what you should take out of it is what Terry McLaurin said about him, which we already knew. He doesn't play like a rookie. We know that. We know he's really good as a rookie. But, there's always they didn't even try to get if they tried, you'd have a better indication, but they didn't try.
Well, let me ask you this, because a little bit ago, and I think you're right when you say this, but you told me, I think the word you used was demarcation line would be when they don't target Quignon anymore. Well, they didn't do it last night. Are you just putting more of that on the defensive line for how great they were?
Well,
last night?
yeah, that's how I took it, because
Yeah.
I think Jaden Daniels got spooked, like I made the boxing analogy, and Chris agreed with me. Chris Franklin, we were talking about it, and I'm like, to me, I mean, he wasn't, because it wasn't just Quignon. They didn't throw the ball to the outside receivers.
Right.
They didn't throw it to anybody. Noah Brown had 4 targets. He led the receivers on, and a couple of those were, bubble screen bullshit. They didn't throw it outside at all. I think if Kaylee Ringo and Isaiah Rodgers were out there, they wouldn't have thrown it outside, is all I'm trying to say. Not that Quignon played poorly or Quignon's not a good player. He's a very good player. I'm just saying they didn't try, and they didn't try because of other circumstances, in my opinion. So when I say there's always something, look, this hasn't been the greatest stretch of opponents, and the opponents that remain, Cincinnati and Washington. Jane Daniels played like shit. Joe Burrow did not play like shit. So that's the one game I kind of hang my hat on if I'm an Eagles fan. Because they had perhaps the best receiver in football and they were trying to get him the ball, and they shut him down for the most part. He had a bunch of catches, but only for like 50 yards. I forget the exact numbers, 6 for 53, something like that. Um, that's my point. They were trying to get him the football. And if you remember the interception, it was Isaiah Rodgers late, the CJ Gardner interception. That's a great play. They're trying to get, that's what you do with great receivers.
Right.
Like last week, it was Jefferson. Well, Jacksonville did a great job on Jefferson. They're trying to get him the fucking ball, though.
Right.
You know, you never stop trying to get him the ball. You never stop trying to get Jamar Chase the ball. Jaden Daniels wouldn't try because he was
Well,
spooked.
yeah, that's just because the D line was so in his
Yes.
face, and yeah,
And he was looking for the pass rush, whether it was there or not. He was seeing the ghosts, and he was getting the ball out and just throwing it to the flats. But that's what I'm saying. That's why I take more out of the Cincinnati game than I take out of the game last night for the secondary, for the corners. For the defensive front, yeah, I'm like, yeah, they killed it against Washington. And going back to the Cincinnati game, I took more out of it for the secondary because they were making plays. That's a great play by Isaiah Rodgers. That's a great play by Cooper DeJean when he scraped over the top to stop the 4th and 1 on Jamar Chase. That's a great freaking play. That's all I'm trying to say. If that makes sense.
it does. I hear what you're saying. I appreciate it. John, anything else right now about this game that jumped off to you that we didn't maybe hit on? I thought we gave Zach Bond his good credit. I think we gave that defensive line their credit. Quinyon, we obviously talked about. Reed Blankenship, we talked about, who continues to make plays.
Josh Sweat, man, I should have mentioned Josh Sweat. He had a bunch of hurries. I think it was Jalen most notably, but Josh Sweat was phenomenal as well. He had a big game from my perspective, and he's been playing really well. He's another guy who's just good, and I think people don't give him enough credit.
Yeah.
And then offensive line, PFF I just checked. They put up their preliminary data. It's not finished yet, but the top 4 players on offense: Landon Dickerson, by the way, is the toughest guy in the world. I'm convinced. I thought he was done.
I did too, man. Saquon fell right on his leg at an awful angle.
Yeah. Best player, according to them, Jordan Mailata, number 2, coming off of 4 weeks of inactivity, so no practice. That tells you about Jordan Mailata. Cam Jurgens, Lane Johnson, top 4. Poor Mekhi Becton, he only had an average game. And he, by the way, on the one touchdown, watch Cam Jurgens' block, which we talked about it. On the other touchdown, it's Mekhi. Watch his block. Just massive holes.
Yeah. Mekhi did there was a couple plays in the game that they kind of worked around.
Well,
Mekhi.
he got a holding call, so he probably got graded down for that. He get graded down for
He
penalty.
got beat a few times. I'm not picking on him, but he did get beat a few times. He was the one guy on the offensive line that got beat a little bit. But overall,
he's having a good year, though.
Yeah. No doubt. No doubt. I'm not trying to take away anything from him. Definitely.
But the top 4 players, Landon Dickerson, Jordan Mailata, Cam Jurgens, Lane Johnson. So everybody's going to talk about
Is that just
guys.
offense, or does that include the defense too? And it's just
that's offense. Just offense, defense.
I'm wondering if Vaughn got another elite grade.
No, he didn't. He didn't.
No.
Josh is the only blue chipper. Josh Sweat.
Okay.
And then it's Reed, Milton Williams, and limited. Milton got hurt, by the way. He was limping pretty significantly. Milton was 3rd. Quinyon was 4th. CJ was 5th on defense. You know what hurt Zach Bond, I guarantee, was that one drive.
The one play. You're talking about the play, the pass?
Well, there were 2 plays. There were 2 plays. Yeah, the flat, and then he got bowled over in the middle, which is rare for him
Yeah.
on one of the Robinson run.
Yeah, and
So it was him. It was
that pass to the flat to Eckler, his Bond just couldn't get him
yeah,
down.
yeah. So it was actually 2 plays on that drive, which was very uncharacteristic. But overall, he still had a good grade. Most everybody's in the green, as I like to say on defense, because they were so good. And the guys who weren't good, it was tackling. A couple guys didn't tackle well. Cooper didn't tackle well. Brandon didn't tackle well. Um, and Jordan didn't tackle well, but Jordan Davis. But you know, if you're taking up 2 blockers and you're not making you're still doing your job. People don't get that job. I maintain. Um, but yeah, it's tough to nitpick on the defense. But overall, it's you know, number 1 would be Landon, number 2 would be Josh Sweat, number 3 would be Jordan Mailata, number 4 would be Cam Jurgens, number 5 would be Lane Johnson. So
Good
it's all
stuff.
offensive line pretty much.
Yeah, good stuff there. I don't think we give Barkley enough credit. He ran, no, John. He had nearly 200 yards of all-purpose of yards from scrimmage yesterday, 50 plus in the passing game. He had that big 43-yard gain on the dump off from Jalen Hurts, which I was happy to see. And he had nearly 150 in the running game. I mean,
Yeah, but
I know
remember
it may start for the
these
offensive
grades,
line.
yeah, remember there were 3 quarters before the 4th quarter. So these grades are more about
Yeah, no,
consistency.
I'm not talking about the grade. I'm just talking
Yeah.
about in general the kind of impact this guy is having. I know the
The
offensive line's
impact
been
is
great, but
yeah.
it's insane what Saquon Barkley's doing. And I just saw a stat that popped up. Saquon Barkley, let me see if I can find it real quick. Um, is the fastest player in Eagle history to 1,000 yards, and he did it in 10 games. The second closest was Shady McCoy, who did it in 12 games. So Saquon Barkley is having a very special season right now in Eagle Green.
Yes, we know by how many jerseys are given away on this program. Yeah, he's been I don't know. Like I said, there was one person that was above me, the Saquon hater. Because I asked, you know how many people I asked.
No, we
How
asked
many
everybody.
how many total yards from scrimmage? And I was at 16 to 1700. One guy went ahead of me, including the listeners, they're like the ones who did say, "Oh, he's going to get 14, 15." He's blowing by all of that. Ed Kratz had him at like 17, 18. I forget exactly. He went above me. Nobody else went above me. Nobody expected this.
He's the MVP of this team right now, John. Because of
Eh,
the flash. I think it is the offensive line.
well, it depends on your
Yeah,
definition. Look, splash players get again. He's
right.
not.
They get the accolades.
Yeah,
It's just how it
yeah,
goes.
yeah. So if you're talking that way, yes. But like I said, watch the two T. Pretend it's very difficult. Watch the 2 touchdown runs. Where's he going to go other than the end zone?
No,
I mean, I'm not trying to downgrade
no,
him.
you're.
The
I know
guy's
what you're
phenomenal.
saying.
The
Yeah,
guy's phenomenal. But where's he going to go?
I know it's amazing, man. That offensive line, they literally make a highway for him, a freeway, dude. He's got a freeway. It's unbelievable what that offensive line is doing. John, let's read a couple super chats. I appreciate everybody being in here this morning. Got a good crowd as always. So big thanks to you. Abe says the division will be getting swept. We'll see, Abe. That would be good stuff if they sweep the division. They have a chance to do it for sure with the Cowboys and the Giants. One more for that. One more game versus everybody. Prince says 8-2 QB, and we're complaining as well, John. I don't know what Prince means.
I don't know
Maybe
what that means, but yeah, I mean,
we're not
look,
complaining. We're
you're
just
always,
analyzing the game. I think people want us to
Jalen,
just get up here and
yeah,
I don't,
well, yeah, everybody thinks criticism is complaining. Jalen will be the first one to tell you, and he's told me many times there is no perfect game. He calls it the standard, as he always does. You're always trying to reach that standard, but you can't reach it. It doesn't exist. Um, he's very self-critical, which is a good thing. And, like I said, he's striving to get better. He doesn't think he's perfect. So I don't know if he's trying to say we're complaining about him. I thought they'd have a better passing game. It's pretty much where it is. I thought they wouldn't have to scale back to being what they're trying to play right now because they would be effective doing both consistently. And they've only been effective with one consistently, one phase.
Right.
There's big plays and there's always big plays. The Dallas Goddard play, thanks to Grant, but there's always big plays. The shots that Devontae Smith against what was that, Jacksonville? The AJ, you look up and you say, well, they're not doing anything passing the football, and you look up and AJ's got 100 yards. Last night it was only 65, but he's been very effective. Devontae's dealing with a hamstring, by the way, and he was limping pretty significantly to the point where I'm surprised they're playing him, because typically they're very cautious. You saw with AJ. AJ sat out 3 games with a hamstring.
Yeah.
Dallas sat out 3 games with a hamstring.
Yeah, I wonder what they're doing with that. I guess they think this mini bye week, maybe it's a chance for Devontae to heal up. We'll see about it. Let's see what happens. Wapzino. Look at that name, John. Wapzino. I don't know if I've ever seen you in the chat, brother, but I appreciate you being here. Big Eagles fan and a fan of the network from Tacoma, Washington. Look at that. All the way out on the West Coast. Do y'all think
the Tacoma Dome? I like.
You ever been to Washington State, John?
Yeah.
Never been. We'll see if I get
if there's an NFL stadium or a NBA arena, I've probably been to your state.
That's right. That's true.
Yeah. So, Seattle, cool town. A little bit too gray for me, but cool town.
Gray as hell.
And that's a cool stadium, by the way, Seattle.
Yeah. Wapzino checks in. He says, do y'all think Hurts not wanting to throw picks is why he holds the ball too long? It's a fair point. I don't think it's fully that. I think there's just some hesitation there, John. What do you think?
Yeah, I think, building when they were turning it over, I think it was more of an impact to that. But, you start thinking about it. If that's just human nature, if you start turning the football over, you start thinking about it a little bit more and maybe being a little bit more cautious. But they seem to have cleared that up for the most part. They had obviously 2 turnovers against Dallas, but they've cleared it up for the most part. I just think it's more of, either one of 2 things, not trusting what he sees, or trying to make a bigger play and trying to press that, rather than taking what's there, so to speak. And I try to ask as much as possible, whether it's Nick or Kellen or Jalen himself, where the progressions are on certain plays, because sometimes it's high low, sometimes it's low high, and you have to understand the progression. Understand, all right, should he be looking at AJ first? Should he be looking somewhere else first? Like that Devontae Smith play, everybody shot, because the Devontae Smith's right in his field of vision, for an easy first down, and he didn't take it. When I do talk to Kellen next week, I'm going to ask him, where's that football supposed to go? Because you have to understand the progression. But if it's supposed to go to Devontae, that's kind of inexcusable, to be honest, because that's wide open. That 4th and 3 I keep bringing up to AJ Brown that everybody was complaining about. That's a good play call. That's there. Everything's there for you, but you got to pull the trigger. And he was definitely the first progression on that 4th and 3, AJ Brown. And the play was there. He just didn't pull the trigger. Why didn't he pull it? Evidently, he didn't see it quick enough.
I want to give credit, John, this morning to one of our great guest who frequents Birds 365 and has been good to us for a long time, and that's the great Les Bowen. Les Bowen put out a tweet a little bit ago, and he basically, and I don't know how many characters, describes almost exactly how I'm feeling about Jalen Hurts. Les tweets this, and you guys should follow Les on Twitter at Les Bowen. I get both sides of the Jalen Hurts debate. He's so tough. He makes big clutch plays. He wins. Agreed. But the pass game weapons the Eagles have, for long stretches, it's like watching a Ferrari crawl along in the slow lane with the flashers on. This offense could and should be unstoppable. And I couldn't agree with that more. Where I'm not downplaying the success of Jalen Hurts. I'm not downplaying what he brings to our team. I would not agree with Kyle, who dropped our $50 chat earlier, and said, should we replace him? I am not in that boat at all. But sometimes it's tough to watch, and you're just like, what's going on? And you look at the weapons. I think it's fair to feel that way as a fan. What do you have to say about what Les Bowen put out there?
Yeah, it's pretty much what I've been saying. Les just said it better, and well done, Les.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Les is
that's
awesome, man.
exactly what I've been talking about. The guy is relentless. He makes big plays. He um, creates issues for the defense, but the passing game isn't there. It's not consistent, and good for the Ferrari analogy. There are long periods where it looks ugly and clunky. I always use that term, clunky. And it's never going to be perfect. As I said, nothing's perfect, but it shouldn't be this difficult with this group. And, I talked about the offensive line a lot last night, and I've talked about them a lot today. And this is before PFF came out with their grades. And I told you how well they played. And not that I'm a football, it's easy to see. So then you have these games like early in Dallas where they're like, what's going on with the offensive line? They're giving up sacks. They're not giving up sacks. They're doing what they're supposed to do.
Right.
You can't hold the football for 4 or 5 seconds on a consistent basis against Micah Parsons. The quarterback's part of it as well when it comes to pass protection. This is, if not the best offensive line in football, certainly number 2, at worst number 2. You have A.J. Brown. You have Devontae Smith. You have Dallas Goedert. We go down it. You have Saquon Barkley. Look what happens when he dumps it off to Saquon Barkley. It's one of the things, if you go back to all those discussions about the passing game, all that bullshit about Saquon Barkley playing slot receiver and being outside doesn't exist. Like I told you, it wasn't going to exist. But you dump the football off to him, you might get 42 yards or whatever he got yesterday.
Yeah, I think it was a 43-yard gain for him.
And he has had a propensity for not wanting to do that. Yesterday, he did it. They got a big play out of it. So there have been incremental improvements, but it shouldn't look this difficult. It shouldn't. And it's fair to point out. And then it's also fair to point out, yeah, but he's a pain in the ass to deal with.
No,
Every
you can't
like
take that away from him. If you're going to be in the criticism camp, which is fine, you got to point that out too. You're right.
yeah. Everything I was saying about Jaden Daniels that he wasn't yesterday is true about Jalen Hurts, and he was. He was a pain in the ass. There was that little third down conversion where, I forget who was racing, and he stuck the football out, and they spotted it behind the first down originally, and the replay assistant just came in and said, no, he got the first down. There's a perfect example of just making something out of nothing, extending a drive. Yeah, he's a very good player, but it's also fair to point out that there are places he needs to improve if they want to be what they want to be. and most of it involves with getting the football out a little bit more quickly. And that's been going in a negative direction. Next gen stats, I bring it up. I'll see if they updated it while I'm down this. But I'm sure it didn't improve from last night. The time to throw. It seems to be going in a negative direction more than a positive direction. And if it wasn't 2.78 in the Super Bowl season, I wouldn't talk about 278, but it was 278. And now it's 3-1 worse than the NFL. Time to get the football out. Now he's always going to be near the bottom. Or
Right.
best case scenario, mid-range, which is what he was in 2022, because you
that
don't
off
want to take
schedule,
away.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't want to take away that off schedule stuff. So again, I'm not asking him to be Tua, who gets the football out because he's, I don't know, scared of taking another hit, but he gets the football out way too quickly. But he's got to get it out a little bit quicker when the meat is on the bone right in front of him.
I agree. Kevin Savar is always good for one funny comment a day. With Jalen, you need a grandfather clock instead of a stopwatch. Good stuff, Kevin Savar. Appreciate it,
Yeah.
brother.
I always use
Jason
the
18.
sundial. I would
Yeah.
say Justin Fields was the guy who you measure his decision making with a sundial, not a stopwatch.
Yeah.
Justin Fields gets the football out in 3.04 seconds. Jalen Hurts 3.1.
Yeah, it's a little long for sure. Jason A-Team checks in. I'm going to get to all the super chats. Big thanks to everybody this morning. Make sure you guys smash that like button. We're up to 176. Can we get to 200, 250? Come on, everybody. The Birds are in first place in the NFC East. Smash that like button for Johnny Mack, who's on about 3 hours, maybe 3.5 if we're lucky, of sleep, maybe less. And me the same. So drop a like on the show for us, will you, everybody? We appreciate
Yeah,
that.
I'm delusional at this point.
The
I'm in the
Lulu
protocol,
McMillan.
different ways.
Yeah.
Different ways.
Well, add that with the concussion protocol that I've put you through. You might be feeling it a little bit more than Jalen Hurts is this morning. Jason A-Team checks in. Appreciate you, Jason. One of our great supporters here on JAKIB Sports. He says, Big Z and J-Mac, this team is really good. My worries really are the QB not seeing the middle of the field. Defense looks insane. No one thought we would be this good after last year. And Barkley is the MVP. Jason, I agree with a lot of what you're saying there, my man.
Well, Lamar
Murray's
Jackson
pretty good.
exists. If you mean the literal MVP,
I think he's talking about our team.
you never know. I mean, there's still plenty of football to play, but yeah, Lamar's going to win the MVP if it continues to go, and deservedly so, by the way. But MVP of this team, yeah, I get the splashiness aspect, but boy, if I'm talking about the MVP of this team, I'm going. Dare I go Zach Bond? Dare I go down
I was
that
thinking you
route?
were going to say a line, but yeah, Zach's in that
Well, no,
conversation.
I mean, I can't give it to a group. I would love to give it to the group. If I could
Yeah,
give it to a group, I would give it to the offensive line. But
I think
because
you got.
they're,
Well, I don't know. You could make an argument for Zach Bond based on the numbers of the defense, how
yeah,
highly
I mean, the
ranked they
defense
are.
has been better than the offense. Who had that on their bingo card? The Philadelphia Eagles defense has been better than the Philadelphia Eagles offense. Now, it's
Yeah,
different. The good thing about this team, who gives a shit about MVPs? You know what the good thing about this team is? They got a bunch of guys you can make arguments for. You can make arguments for the offensive line. You can make arguments for Saquon. You can make arguments even for A.J. Brown as the best player, if you want to go about it that way. You can make arguments for Jalen Carter. You can make arguments for Zach Bond. Just enjoy it. Who gives a shit about MVPs? Good team.
Good stuff, A-Team. Thank you, my friend. I appreciate the support, brother. Let's go to Keith Johnson. Zander, where are all the Commanders fans now? Crickets. You're right, Keith. They were popping up in the chat yesterday. Now they're like little.
Yeah, I didn't know Scott Van Pelt
buried.
was a Commanders fan.
What's
Or
that?
whatever. Scott Van Pelt, I guess, is in
Oh yeah, that was
Commanders.
funny. Jalen on the
It was
after
kind of
the
awkward, but
it was really awkward. I mean, I thought it was
um,
super awkward. I thought Scott tried to handle it as good as he could, but it was definitely an awkward moment there.
yeah,
Um,
um, yeah. I didn't know he was a Commanders fan, but look, those people have been through a lot. I give them some credit. The true,
fuck them. I said it earlier this week. I'll say
yeah,
it again.
the
Fuck
true.
them.
They were excited, but I said, it takes steps, man. You know, you got to go. The Eagles are battle tested going through this kind of stuff. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but they're battle tested. They've been, as I said, playoffs, 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 playoffs. This will be the fourth consecutive year they'll be in the playoffs. Um, how many games they've won over the past 4 years? They're battle tested. They've been in these spots. Washington has not, and it showed in the fourth quarter.
I agree. I agree for sure. Suplex City checks in. Suplex, thank you, man. Todd, thank you for being the number one Eagles pod in the biz, even if the offseason is when the wrestling pod happens and Zander's cousin, stepsister, wins the jersey. Come on, Suplex.
Whoa. There's some accusations there.
Oh,
No, I think you've been pretty above board. You know,
I
there
do
have
it
been
fully
people
transparently.
from Europe, right, who've won.
Yeah, the NFL is taking a while to ship. Actually, everybody else got their jersey very quick, but they were all in America. The last guy, I'm still waiting on the NFL to ship that thing, and I paid a pretty penny for shipping. Come on, NFL, ship it out. To Paul Blome, I think, won the jersey. He did. So good stuff from Paul. And we'll be giving away our jersey this week on Monday, everybody. So Monday after hours of Birds 365, I will give away another Saquon Barkley jersey. Will he get one every week? Maybe. Flexing and stepping. I hope Suplex wins just to shut his ass up. And then he'll claim he's my cousin, won't he? Flexing and stepping says, I had the defense being better than the offense, J-Mac. Flexing, I will give you credit. You did say that back in the summer. I remember it in the
Who
chat.
said what?
He
What?
did. He did. I got to give him now.
What? Ah, come on.
He did. I'm telling you, this guy did. Now, he also said, what'd you say, Flex? 7-9 wins. Not looking too good on that
So
one, Flex.
so is this just the Jalen Hurts hater and
No,
one of
he's not.
those things?
No, he's not. He's not.
Because I mean, this person said the Eagles defense was going to be better than the Eagles offense in August.
We'll
Because
go pull the receipts. Flex has been
I
saying it.
mean
Flex
that.
frequents in the chat. So if the evidence is there, the evidence
Oh,
is
that's
out there.
fine. I'd like to see the evidence, but if there is evidence to that point,
Nick Mullen not buying it, Flex.
I'm not buying it. And if you are, there's something behind it. It's either delusion or hatred of Jalen Hurts. There's something behind it, or hatred of Nick Sirianni, because there is no one from a logical standpoint could say that the Eagles offense with 97 all pros, obviously hyperbole, was going to be worse than the Eagles defense with a bunch of nothings.
Jalen John questioning your motives, Flex.
Yeah.
He checked in. I was wrong about the 7-9 wins. I'm not a Jalen hater.
Well, I mean, were you a Devin White truther? Because I had a lot of them.
No, he wasn't that. Flex is more of a very cautiously optimistic type of Eagle fan where he's just not bought until he sees it, which I can. He said, I definitely hate Nick. So he's a Nick hater.
There's always something. I mean, come on. Why would you think the Eagles defense would be better than the Eagles offense? Why would anyone think that? Why would anyone? That's what makes it such a great story. What did you think Nakobe Dean was going to turn into the? But did you think Zach Bond was going to be Zach Bond? Did you know Jalen Carter, who couldn't get through 10 games, would play 66 snaps in week 11? Did you know Quinyon Mitchell would be shutting down the best receivers in football? Did you know Cooper DeJean was? Yeah, come on. I'm not buying.
Flex, you woke Johnny Mack up. He
I'm
said
not. Well,
defense had more depth, J Mac.
that's okay, but there's no injuries. You know, long term, you lost obviously AJ. You lost for a short period of time. You lost Dallas Goddard. You lost Jordan Mailata. But compared to other teams who have significant injuries, guys gone for the season, guys gone for the majority of the season, the Eagles have been healthy from that perspective. I said they probably had more depth on defense, but again, that's not what I'm saying. They would have a better defense with Zach Bond and Quinyon Mitchell and all these good stories and Cooper DeJean, and they were going to be better than Saquon Barkley and AJ Brown and Devontae. Yeah, I mean, come on. Yeah.
Flex, you are being called on the carpet. You might have to pull some receipts, my guy. Share them to me on Twitter, and I'll send them John's way.
Well, that they can be. Then I'm going to send out. Then there's some delusion involved.
Brian Pumper checks in. Good morning to everyone in Philly except Jalen Hurts and the kicker with a captain's patch. Big Dick Vic. Look at that. Look at that.
I don't. Jake had a bad game. Jake the Make. We can no longer call him Jake the Make. Jalen didn't have a bad game. It's just clunky as usual.
Clunky as hell.
Yeah. But I mean, he didn't have a bad game. Jaden Daniels had a bad game. Jalen Hurts didn't have a bad game. Yeah. So I don't know.
He says Watkins is greater than Dotson at this point. A third for a ghost. Oh God. You're right. Wes made more plays in this offense, so that's for sure.
What do we? John made a great play against Jacksonville. Made another great play against Dallas. They didn't get him. He was making a great play There was a little bit of sign. Now, Jahan Dotson is significantly better than Quez Watkins. Significantly. Not to say that he's good, just significantly better than Quez Watkins. That's not. Jahan Dotson is more, I would say, again, not that he's good. He's just better. He's better than what they've had at the third receiver position. But they don't use it. B, they don't use it more this year than typical years because they've scaled back to where they were in 2021, which I continue to say is not necessarily a good thing. They don't use it, number one. So, yeah, with the third round pick, and Howie will tell you he got, he always wanted that trade was Dotson and a 5th round pick for a 3rd round pick and 2 7th round picks. So there's more to it than just third for Jahan Dotson. But yeah, he gave up too much, which I've said pretty consistently. But Jahan Dotson's better than Quez Watkins. Come on.
Hasn't been more productive. Let's keep rolling. Eagles a true contender. I want to drink Pennzoil.
Yeah, they're a true contender. There's.
I think he's a Patriots fan. Shooter McGavin.
There's 5 or 6 true contenders, and they're in that group.
They are.
They're in that group.
They are. Life with Trucker says the best reporting on the Eagles. #JMac. I love that, man. Thank you, brother. I'm sure JMac appreciates it as well.
I do appreciate it. Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
I agree with him, by the way. Brian Garner says Howie might have to use the tag on Bond. They're not going to do that. No way.
No way.
No way. I mean, that just hands things cap wise.
That means if it's the exclusive tag, you're paying the average of top 5 at the position. That ain't happening. If it's the non-exclusive tag,
doesn't it also lock in though the cap hit? So there's not like you can't even do any.
You have to. Yeah. Well, it doesn't. I mean, it locks in the cap hit when you sign the tag, but you can negotiate and as long as you do it before the deadline, you can negotiate a different contract.
Yeah.
So it doesn't affect either. But no, just from the standpoint, no, they're not paying him top 5 at the position. And non-exclusive is top 10, either one. No, they're not going to use the tag on any off-ball linebacker.
Good stuff.
Roquan Smith exists, and those guys exist, which push up the number dramatically.
Good stuff, Brian. Thank you, man. Philly Don says, "Hey, John, did they offer you a piece of Smitty's cake?"
No, they did not. They don't offer us much. No, happy birthday to Smitty, though, even though he's limping around, as I said. They did have the birthday cake, 26. Yeah, I'm a little surprised they're letting him play through that. But who knows? I was surprised they let Jordan Mailata play. That worked out well. They didn't practice. And he's been out for 4 weeks. I thought, it made sense that, all right, get through this game. Then you have the mini bye, so he gets some extra time. And he's got a whole week of practice, and he'd be back for the Rams. That's what I thought was going to happen with Jordan Mailata. They didn't practice, and he's out there. And by the way, he was
played amazing.
Yeah, second best player according to PFF, right next to his buddy Landon Dickerson.
Good stuff. Devontae says Quinyanamo Bay and Cooper Cheese. J-Mac. Cooper Cheese? What's that mean, Devontae?
I don't know, but they hit some home runs.
Is that the dairy thing because he's a white guy? Is that what that means?
I was surprised. Him and Reed came in with the goofy T-shirts.
Yeah, the exciting whites. That was stupid. You know what name I do not like for the white dudes on the secondary is it's all over Twitter. Ku Klux Clamps. I'm like, that's such you bring a negative thing into the team. I hate that nickname. I thought it was really stupid, but anyway, we'll keep going.
I like Slay's. Slay was the first who came up with milk check for Reed.
That's not bad.
Yeah, I like that one. And Cooper's like, it reads a little different. Reads more of the traditional white guy, high football IQ, maybe not the best athlete at safety, but just always in the right position. Cooper's a better athlete than everybody. So, he's the guy who just, you don't believe he's going to be that athlete, and he's that athlete. So yeah. Anyway, but yeah, I don't like that. Yeah, milk check I like.
Yeah, I didn't like it either. But it's all over Twitter. I see it everywhere, and it gets like millions of retweets. I'm like, why do people retweet this shit? Anyway, A says a third rounder for one bobbled catch. Come on, John. A doesn't like Jahan Dotson, John.
Well, it doesn't surprise me. They don't throw the football. Who? First of all, I was comparing him to Quez Watkins. Now Quez is these people hated Quez Watkins to the point I was defending Quez Watkins. Jahan Dotson's better than Quez Watkins. That's all I said. I said the day of the trade, that's too much. But again, it's not Jahan Dotson for a third round pick. It's Jahan Dotson and a 5th round pick for a 3rd round pick and 2 7th round picks. That's the trade. It's too much, especially because they don't use third receiver. They don't use the 2 receivers they have now that they scaled back to being a running team. So, but you can see where the Eagles' mentality was before to where it is now. So as things are going, as things are going as well as they are, I still think it's a negative in the net long term. When they made that trade, when Howie made that trade, he was projecting what he wanted the offense to be.
Right.
And the offense isn't what he wanted it to be. So factor that into it.
I wonder how they're feeling right now. I wonder what they're thinking about this team right now. D. Hughes checks in. Appreciate it, D. He says, good morning. Just now tapping in. Thanks for being here, man. Under center pass to Goddard, dump off to Saquon. 2 things Hurts doesn't do often on the same drive to get things going early in that 3rd quarter. That's a good takeaway. I'll take that. I'll take
Yeah,
that.
well, the dump offs to Barkley, I mean, the big one. That to me is a big advancement. He never does that, basically. Very rarely did he do that. And nobody was near Saquon for that reason. They don't do that. So all he had to do was turn around and he got all this open field because, you're breaking a tendency by doing that. And, you know, now you have it on tape, and now people will have to give it, pay it more attention. Maybe that opens up something else. It's always good, you know, if a guy's wide open, dump it off. Let him go. Let him run. Let him graze.
Good stuff. D. Hughes, thanks for checking in, brother. I appreciate it, man. A follows up. I'll lay off Dotson for now, but I'd rather see the rookies out there. Just put them in the
Oh,
flames.
come on, dude. I can't even believe.
Rip them, John.
Boy, that is a perfect example of, you know, always going for door number 3 and presuming the grass is greener on the other side of the fence. That grass is dead and brown.
I
And
think both of them are brown, to be honest with you.
um,
Both grasses on both sides of the fence are
uh,
done and dusted.
Jahan Dotson is much, 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 much. How many muches can I go better than Johnny Wilson or Anais Smith?
Yeah, you're right about that.
Quez Watkins is much better than Johnny Wilson or Anais Smith right now. Yeah, I mean, come on. Yeah. Don't confuse the Eagles' inability to you get it. It's sort of like I was saying about Washington. Don't confuse Washington's inability to even try to throw the football outside the numbers with necessarily with correlate it with the success you want to correlate it with, and that's Quinyon shutting down Terry McLaurin, because you can always throw the football if you want to throw the football. Using Jamar Chase as an example, using Justin Jefferson, nobody stops throwing those guys the football. That's more on the quarterback getting spooked. The Eagles' offense not throwing to the third receiver. They haven't thrown it to Quez Watkins, Olamide Zacchaeus, Julio Jones. This is just in the past year. Now Jahan Dotson. You really think they're going to start throwing it to Johnny Wilson and Anais Smith? They give Anais a manufactured touch. I can't even believe he made the team to begin with. And they don't want to cut him because, hey, long term, maybe he's got some potential as that manufactured touch player. Not working yet. And boy, Johnny Wilson, he's Joseph Nada with a bigger hairdo when it comes to getting separation. I mean, my God, come on,
Oh
people.
my
John
God.
Dotson is you talk about athletes, a big time athlete. Yeah, it hasn't. They pay too much for him. They don't throw the ball to the third receiver. All that is true. But come on. I can't help you if you think
Hey, I'm
Johnny
happy you
Wilson.
got a little stop it out of John McMullen. So thanks for doing that, brother. Abe checks in. Is Hurts developing his pocket presence and passing now because this type of play style won't last as he ages? He has to improve now. I think Abe is right.
Well, yeah, I mean, it would help to improve. Yeah.
Well,
Um,
I think to Abe's point, we talked about this on the post game show last night. Some great commentary from the people late into the night last night. But he's like, how many more years of this until Jalen just he can't gash teams with his legs anymore. He's already a little bit of a lesser runner now than he was a couple of years ago. It's just the nature of the beast in the NFL. Do you
Well,
take
yeah, it
those hits?
is. I mean, you're already seeing Jaden Daniels get banged up
Right.
with a
So,
rookie.
like
It's not the
on the
same.
flip side of that, Jalen's going to have to improve in the passing game. What do you say to Abe, John?
I say embrace the uniqueness. Ride it as long as you can. It's the shelf. He ain't playing at 40, and then you got to move on to somebody else. Do you want them to improve? Yeah, that's what they're trying to get them to improve. That's it. They've been trying. That's the whole point.
Right.
It's the whole point of why you're getting Jahan Dotson. To go back to that, again, the sentiment. If the sentiment isn't obvious to you when they make that trade, what they want to be, I can't help you. They're not that, and that's why I think it's counterintuitive for most fans because you're enjoying all the wins, you're enjoying all the Saquon big runs, and it's just Philadelphia. You run the football, take the points. That's not what they want to be.
Good stuff, John. This next super chat's maybe we'll get a stop it. Rashid Mixon. John, I will revisit this until the season ends or you admit Saquon is to the Eagles what CMC is to the 49ers.
When he can run a route like a receiver, I'll admit it. Until that day, it ain't happening.
What about impact, though?
The impact has been tremendous for Saquon. Yeah. The impact is there. Is he a better football player than Christian McCaffrey? Again, I'm talking about Christian. Again, football's not the stasis. I'm talking about Christian McCaffrey at his height. No, come on, stop it. There, you're going to get to stop it. I mean, you don't have to be. Again, you don't have to have the best, but there's some obvious holes in Saquon's game that Christian McCaffrey does not have. If you're being completely honest with yourself, you don't see drops like there was a certain drop. You don't see mental errors to that degree. I mean, are we really having this discussion? Like the as impressive as the Jimmy Snuka leapfrog is, that doesn't make you a good football player. It makes you a physical, athletic freak. It's actually kind of not
both.
No, I'm not saying he's not, but that's what splashes out to people. Well, Christian McCaffrey, I got that. That Christian McCaffrey can't do that. Yeah, you're right. He can't do that. Why would he want to do that? I mean, I don't know what to tell people. It's not close. Is he in the conversation for being next best? Sure, put him in that conversation. But again, where is all this impact? You don't need a slot receiver. You don't need to trade for Jahan because you'll just put Saquon in the slot and he'll beat NFL corners running routes. Now, Zander, I've been laughing about that since day one. That's a fucking day off for an NFL cornerback. That is a day off. And the Eagles aren't that stupid to do it. And that's nothing against Saquon Barkley because nobody can do it. No running, maybe Bijan a little bit. He's very good, actually. But other than Christian McCaffrey, nobody can do it.
I see what you're saying, but Rashid follows up. I'm not talking about his height. I'm talking about the impact CMC has on the 49ers, Saquon has on the Eagles. I got to be honest. I think I agree with Rashid here, John. I agree with what you're saying. He's not a receiver like Christian is. Christian's a more overall talented player, probably. But, boy, what Saquon's done to this all. I mean, John, our passing game is significantly worse right now, at least from my perspective, than it was a year ago. And they're winning football games. Saquon's running all over everybody.
listen to what you just said. What was the first part of what you just said?
What, that the passing game is worse?
Yeah.
Well, it's different impacts. Yeah, you mean you're saying
Now. Look again. There were 3 splash plays by Saquon Barkley in yesterday's game. Like people get mad at the PFF rankings. Like, why isn't Saquon number 1? Look at the 3 plays. Like, don't listen to me. Look at the 3 plays yourself. Look at the dump off. Where are the defenders? That was not a leapfrog over somebody. That's just running down the field, rolling. Look at the Cam Jurgens block. Like I said before, where's he going, Zander? Where's he going? Is he going to turn left to the sidelines? It is a massive red carpet to the end zone. Look at the Mekhi Becton block. Look at him wall off the entire side of the defense. Where's he going? Now, here's the difference with Saquon as opposed to Miles or and I've said it pretty consistently, or DeAndre, who are great athletes or were great athletes in their own right. You know, they probably get 17, 23-yard touchdown. They probably get 17, 18 yards. They're inside the 5 because they don't have his athletic ability. And in the 39-yard touchdown, maybe they get 30 and they're inside the 10. That's the difference between they were already the most dominant running game in the NFL since 2021. Now they're more dominant. And the counterintuitive point of that is the passing offense has gotten worse.
Yes, it has. You're right about that for sure.
Because it's a crutch.
All right, John, I'm going to let you get out of here. I'm going to get your final thoughts here. We had a bunch of super chats that we had to rip through, and I'm going to get to the rest of them once I let John drop off here. But we've reached overtime here on Birds 365, doing it on short rest here. So let's let Johnny Mack get out of here. But John, final thoughts on this game, man. Birds sitting at 8-2 now, number 1 seed in the NFC East, have a shot to win number 1 seed, maybe make the playoffs, come through Philly, depending on what happens with Detroit. Your final takeaways from this game and how it's, what your thought process is on this team after watching it unfold.
Significant contender. I want to increase the margin of error. That's where I am. I want to increase the margin of error. I want them right now. I have them behind Detroit. And that's probably it. And I think they can beat anybody else, but the game's got to go a certain way for them to win. And I didn't think that was going to be the case. I thought the Eagles would be able to beat anybody anyway, and they're not there. So again, we're nitpicking because we're talking about one of the few teams that are legitimate Super Bowl contenders, yet somehow they're not where I hope they would be.
We'll see what ends up
but
happening.
we need to come and before I leave, just to piss people off. And again, this is not me. These are the running backs that PFF ranks above the MVP. Bijan Robinson, Derrick Henry, Tyler Algier, Kenneth Walker, Bucky Irvin, Josh Jacobs, James Conner, Aaron Jones, who I advocated the Eagles should sign.
Oh, come on. Fuck you, PFF.
There you go.
Oh, come on. I'm not a PFF hater. That's
you just are. You just are. You just are. But when I tell you so-and-so's number 1, when I tell you Jordan Mailata is the best tackle in all of football, ahead of Teron Armstead, Penei Sewell, Lane Johnson, Trent Williams, you fucking love it.
You're telling me Bucky Irving is better than Saquon Barkley?
Well, Bucky Irving in limited snaps. So I should have taken Bucky Irving out because he plays limited snaps. He's just doing an effective job in his role. If you understand it, you understand there were 3 quarters last night before the 4th quarter, and you understand he's driving with an excavation vehicle throwing architectural dig sites.
John,
If
I had
you
a
look
concussion. I got a concussion.
if you look at Bijan Robinson and Derrick Henry and Kenneth Walker and Josh Jacobs and James Conner, who's having a fucking phenomenal year for that bullshit team, and Aaron Jones, who is fucking unbelievable, and I've been talking about for years. Yeah, you don't know what you're looking at.
Holy shit. We ended with some fireworks here. Johnny Mac, good stuff, brother. Last question for you, John. Good morning, Zig and Jay. Not football related, but curious if you guys are tuning into the spectacle of Mike Tyson versus Jake Paul on Netflix. Go Birds. John,
Well,
you
I have Netflix, so I'm already paying for it.
yeah,
And the
might as well
answer is
watch it, right?
no. No, I'm not
No?
watching that nonsense. No.
Martine, I'll tell you this. If it goes past 3 rounds, I got to go Jake Paul because I don't think a
Well,
60-year-old man
see.
can
Here's the thing, and I got to go because I got to. But
yeah, you got to get
I love boxing. I love real boxing, and these
too.
bullshit celebrity fights have ruined boxing, and I don't like them, so I'm not supporting them.
All right, that's fun. All right, John, good show, man. Thanks for doing it. Short rest. Maybe you'll get a nap in today at some point. If not, sleep
Nap.
like a
That's the
baby.
problem, man.
Sleep.
I wish I could.
Never been a
wish I
napper
could.
in my life, so I'll not be napping. But at least you have off on Sunday, or at least no game to cover on Sunday. So go get some rest, John. The people of JAKIB Nation, and certainly me, appreciate your work. Well done, my friend.
All right. Sorry to piss everybody off at the end.
That's all right. I love it. I love it, Johnny Mac. Good stuff, brother.
All right. Thanks, everybody.